Statement, Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy.
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, with your permission, I'd like to make a statement on the release in error of Hadush Kebatu from HMP Chelmsford last Friday morning. As the House will be aware, Mr Kebatu was apprehended by the Metropolitan Police on Sunday morning in the Finsbury Park area of my constituency. He's back where he belongs, behind bars, and I'd like to thank the Metropolitan Police, Essex Police and the British Transport Police for their swift action to return him to custody, and the public who helped locate Kebatu after the police's appeal. I can tell the House that he will now be transported for deportation back to Ethiopia as quickly as possible. However, this does not change the fact that Mr Kebatu's victims are rightly outraged about what has happened. And I'm livid on their behalf. And on behalf of the public, this was a mistake that should not have happened. The victims expect better, the public expects better, and this government expects better from a critical public service, which plays a vital role in our first duty to keep the British people safe and free from harm. Madam Deputy Speaker, on Friday the 24th of October, Mr Kebatu was scheduled to be transferred from HMP Chelmsford to an immigration removal centre, from which he was to be deported. Due to what appears to have been human error, he was instead released into the community at 10:25 a.m. Shortly after 12 p.m, concerns were raised about the release to the duty governor, and following checks, staff were dispatched to locate him. When it became clear that he was no longer in the vicinity of the prison, Essex Police were notified and a manhunt began. Her Majesty's Prison and Probation Service instigated an immediate investigation, and I've asked for the initial findings to be with me this week. And the House will appreciate that in the meantime there is a limit, obviously, on what I can say, but members will be aware that there are national security considerations within a case like this, and I will update the House in the appropriate way as soon as I can. But what I can say today is that there must and there will be accountability for what has happened. Madam Deputy Speaker, when I was first informed of the release in error, I spoke immediately to the duty governor at Chelmsford and senior HMPPS leaders to understand what was known and seek assurances about the immediate measures being taken. I tasked my officials working through the night and coordinated a response with the Home Office and the police. And I'd like to put on record my thanks to the Home Secretary for her engagement over the weekend. I also chaired 3 operational meetings with the police, and on Sunday was able to travel to Wood Green Police Station just outside my constituency to personally thank the police officers who caught Kebatu. Madam Deputy Speaker, I've been clear from the outset that a mistake of this nature is unacceptable. We must get to the bottom of what happened and take immediate action to try and prevent similar releases in error to protect the public from harm. First, on Friday, I instructed the CEO of Her Majesty's Prison and Probation Service to carry out an urgent review, to look at the checks that take place when a prisoner is released and identify immediate changes that can be made to the process in order to mitigate against the risks of release in error. As a result, HMPPS have taken steps to make these processes more robust. There will now be more direct senior accountability for ensuring protocols and checks are correctly applied, including a clear checklist for governors to determine that every step has been followed the evening before any release takes place. These are the strongest release checks that have ever been in place, and they will apply to every release from custody and are effective immediately. Second, any foreign national offender being removed through the early removal scheme, the scheme through which Kebatu was supposed to be removed from the country, can now only be discharged when the duty governor is physically present, and there will be no ERS removals from HMP Chelmsford for the rest of this week. And third, I'm today announcing that there will be an independent investigation by Dame Lynn Owers. I spoke to her yesterday, former Deputy Commissioner for the Metropolitan Police and Director General of the National Crime Agency, and she will fully establish the facts of Kebatu's release and whether staff had sufficient experience, training and technology, and she will also talk to the victims in this case to understand the effect this incident had on them. Her report will highlight points of failure and make recommendations to help prevent further releases in error, which have been rising year on year since 2021, going from 9 per month on average in 2023 to 17 per month in the period spanning January to June 2024. And I'm clear that a single release in error is one too many, which is why we have launched this independent investigation. And I can tell the House that it will have the same status as those into other prison incidents, including the awful attack on 3 prison officers at HMP Franklin in April of this year, and the escape of Daniel Khalife from HMP Wandsworth in 2023 under the last government. Madam Deputy Speaker, releases in error are a symptom of a system that we inherited from the party opposite.
Truth hurts.
Jails were full almost to breaking point, and the threat of total collapse in law and order. The fact is that we were left with prisons reeling from historic funding reductions. Madam Deputy Speaker, a 24% real terms cut from 2010 to 2015 and 30% cuts in staffing, leaving us today with over 50% of frontline prison officers having less than 5 years' experience. It's little wonder, then, when the system has been brought to its knees, that errors like this happen. We must also be honest that the previous government's approach to this crisis, piecemeal, complex emergency releases in the hope that the system wouldn't collapse, has added to a level of complexity and pressure that makes errors more likely. This government has been transparent about the difficult decisions necessary to fix the mess for good so that prisons can keep us safe, and future governments need not find emergency solutions to free up capacity. And this government has brought forward the sentencing bill currently making its way through this House. It will ensure we have a suitable criminal justice system, one which can deliver punishment that works, that cuts crime and keeps the public safe. And this government's also building 14,000 additional prison places so that we have capacity to lock up the most dangerous offenders. This is the largest prison expansion since the Victorian era. And let's be clear, there will be more people in prison at the end of this Parliament than there have ever been before. And we've already built 2,500 additional prison places in just over a year, compared to 500 added overall to the prison estate under the Tories. And we're deporting more foreign criminals than the last government. We've changed the law last month to speed up the early removal scheme, something that, to be fair, the Shadow Justice Secretary called for, so that most foreign prisoners can now be deported after serving 30% of their custodial sentence rather than the previous 50%. And through the sentencing bill, we will go even further to deport foreign criminals as soon as possible after sentencing. I can confirm that in the year to July 2025, we sent 5,179 foreign national offenders back to the countries of origin, a 14% increase on the previous 12 months. This frees up desperately needed prison places and saves the taxpayer the £54,000 per year in cost to hold an individual offender. Madam Deputy Speaker, this context sets out the scale of the challenge, but I'm clear that releases in error are not simply a fact of life. The public will not accept that, and neither does the government. We'll get to the bottom of what happened in this case. We will take whatever steps necessary to tackle the spike in releases in error, so that we can uphold the first duty of every government to keep the public safe from harm. I commend this statement to the House.
I call Robert Jenrick, Shadow Secretary of State.